Hare Krishna, welcome to this episode of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Today we'll be continuing from the 17th chapter of the Adilila, and the topic is The Holy Name is the Only Way. So that's the topic of today's discussion, spoken by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself in his ecstasy. So we will read about that. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So please invite the others. Maybe they're not aware. We started a little late today. So we'll quickly get to it. Adilila chapter 17, text 16. तबे नित्यानंद गोसायर व्यास पूजन नित्यानंद आवेश कैलो मूषल धारण. Nityananda Prabhu then arranged to offer Vyasa Puja or worship of the spiritual master to Sri Lord Sri Gaurasundar. But Lord Chaitanya carried the plough-like weapon called Mushala in the ecstasy of being Nityananda Prabhu. Purport. By the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu arranged for the Vyasa Puja of the Lord on the night of the full moon. He arranged for the Vyasa Puja or Guru Puja through the agency of Srivas Thakur. Since Vyasadeva is the original Guru, spiritual master of all who follow the Vedic principles, worship of the spiritual master is called Vyasa Puja. Nityananda Prabhu arranged for the Vyasa Puja and Sankirtan was going on, but when he tried to put a garland on the shoulder of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he saw himself in Lord Chaitanya. There is no difference between the spiritual positions of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu or Krishna and Balaram. All of them are but different manifestations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. During this special ceremony, all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could understand that there is no difference between Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu. So actually the spiritual master, the original spiritual master is Balaram. Of course, Krishna is also spiritual master, of course. But Balaram serves Krishna in different ways. That's why his name is his expansion is called Ananta Shesh. Shesha means end. The one who has reached the end of all service of the Lord. That means there is nothing more remaining to be served. That much service Shesha can render. In fact, all the bedding, all the umbrella, the shoes, the dress of Krishna, everything is actually an expansion of Balaram. Um, and also, because he engages himself in the service of Krishna, he is teaching us how to serve Krishna in every single way. So, therefore, he is the spiritual master, and his name suggests that he is Balaram. So, he is the custodian of spiritual strength. And all the spiritual masters, all the acharyas, they are all expansions of Balaram, Nityananda Prabhu. And therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, now Nityananda Prabhu is actually offering Guru Puja to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed himself as Nityananda Prabhu, showing the original spiritual master. So, text 17. তবে শচী দেখিল রামকৃষ্ণ দুই ভাই তবে নিস্তারিল প্রভু জগায় মাধায়. Thereafter, Mother Sachi Devi saw the brothers Krishna and Balaram in their manifestation of Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda. Then the Lord delivered the two brothers Jaga and Madhai. Purport. One night Sachi Devi dreamt that the deities in her house, Krishna and Balaram, had taken the forms of Chaitanya and Nityananda and were fighting one another as children do to eat the Naivedya or offering to the deities. The next day, by the will of Lord Chaitanya, Sachi Devi invited Nityananda to take prasadam at her house. Thus, Vishwambhar, Lord Chaitanya, and Nityananda were eating together, and Sachi Devi realized that they were none other than Krishna and Balaram. Seeing this, she fainted. Jaga and Madhai were two brothers born in Navadvip in a respectable Brahmana family who later became addicted to all kinds of sinful activities. By the order of Lord Chaitanya, both Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas Thakur used to preach the cult of Krishna consciousness door to door. In the course of such preaching, they found Jaga and Madhai, two maddened, drunken brothers, who, upon seeing them, began to chase them. On the next day, Madhai struck Nityananda Prabhu on the head with a piece of earthen pot, thus drawing blood. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard of this, he immediately came to the spot ready to punish both brothers. But when the all merciful Lord Gauranga saw Jagai's repentant behavior, he immediately embraced him. But by seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face and embracing him, both the sinful brothers were at once cleansed. Thus, they received initiation into the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra from the Lord and were delivered. This is a synopsis of that Leela. तबे सप्त प्रहर छिला प्रभु भावावेशे यथा तथा भक्तगण देखिलो विशेषे. After this incident, the Lord remained in an ecstatic position for 21 hours, and all the devotees saw his specific pastimes. So, after delivering Jaga and Madhai, he was in ecstasy for 21 hours. Purport. In the deity's room, there must be a bed for the deity behind his throne. This system should immediately be introduced in all our centers. It does not matter whether the bed is big or small, it should be of a size the deity room can conveniently accommodate, but there must be at least a small bed. One day in the house of Srivas Thakur, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sat down on the bed of Vishnu, and all the devotees worshipped him with the Vedic mantras of the Purusha Sukta, beginning with Sahasra Shirsha Purusha, Sahasraksha, Sahasrapat. This Veda Stuti should also be introduced, if possible, for installations of deities. While bathing the deity, all the priests and devotees must chant this Purusha Sukta and offer the appropriate paraphernalia for worshipping the deity, such as must chant this Purusha Sukta and offer the appropriate paraphernalia for worshipping the deity, such as flowers, fruits, incense, arati, paraphernalia, naivedya, vastra, and ornaments. All the devotees worshipped Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this way, and the Lord remained in ecstasy for 7 praharas. Second. He took this opportunity to show the devotees that he is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who is the source of all other incarnations, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 10.8, Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo Mattah Sarvam Pravartate. All the different forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead or Vishnu Tattva emanate from the body of Lord Krishna. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exposed all the private desires of the devotees, and thus all of them became fully confident that Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Some devotees call this exhibition of ecstasy by the Lord Sat Praharya Bhava, or the ecstasy of 21 hours. And others call it Mahabhava Prakash or Mahaprakash. There is a description of this Sat Praharya Bhava in the Chaitanya Bhagavat Madhya Khanda, chapter 9, which mentions that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu blessed a maidservant named Dukhi with the name Sukhi. He called for Kholavecha Sridhar and showed him his Mahaprakash. Then he called for Murari Gupta and showed him his feature as Lord Ramachandra. He offered his blessings to Haridas Thakur, and at this time he also asked Advaita Prabhu to explain the Bhagavad Gita as it is, Gitar Satya Pat, and showed special favor to Mukunda. Gitar Satya Pat. I think that's the phrase used in the Chaitanya Bhagavat probably, which is why the Bengali is quoted here. Today the attendance is quite low, huh? Every day is busy. Everybody is busy with Saturday night. वराह आवेश होइला मुरारी भवने तारस कंधे चढ़ी प्रभु नाचिला अंगने. One day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu felt the ecstasy of the boar incarnation and got up on the shoulders of Murari Gupta. Thus, they both danced in Murari Gupta's courtyard. Purport. One day, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to cry out, Shukara, Shukara. Thus, crying out for the boar incarnation of the Lord, he assumed his form as the boar incarnation and got up on the shoulders of Murari Gupta. He carried a small gadu, a small water pot with a nozzle, and thus he symbolically picked up the earth from the depths of the ocean, for this is the pastime of Lord Varaha. Tabe shuklambarer koilo tandula bhakshan, harer nama shloker koilo artha vivaran. After this incident, the Lord ate raw rice given by Shuklambar Brahmachari and explained very elaborately the import of the Hare Nama shloka mentioned in the Brihan Naradiya Purana. Purport. Shuklambar Brahmachari resided in Navadvip on the bank of the Ganga. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was dancing in ecstasy, he approached the Lord with a begging bag containing rice. The Lord was so pleased with his devotee that he immediately snatched the bag and began to eat the raw rice. No one forbade him, and thus he finished the entire supply of rice. Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Namaiva Kevalam, Kalau Nastyeva, Nastyeva, Nastyeva Gatiranyatha. In this age of Kali, there is no other means for self-realization than chanting the holy name, chanting the holy name, chanting the holy name of Lord Hari. So this is the verse that is being explained elaborately now. Kali Kale Nama Rupe Krishna Avatar Nama Hoite Hoy Sarva Jagat Nistar. So this is a very famous verse. In this age of Kali, the holy name of the Lord, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, is the incarnation of Lord Krishna. Simply by chanting the holy name, one associates with the Lord directly. Anyone who does this is certainly delivered. दार्ढ्य लागे हरेर नाम उक्ति तीन बार जड़ लोक बुझाइते पुनः एवकार. Hare Krishna League is saying there were 12 people and maybe did not join yet from the Telegram call. Okay, yeah. This verse Is talking about the Brihan Naradi Puran, Hare Nama verse. This verse repeats the word Eva certainly three times for emphasis, and it also three times repeats Hare Nama, the holy name of the Lord, just to make common people understand. You know, Prabhupada, actually, we quoted this in the IA 77 as well, that Prabhupada said if anything is said three times, it should be considered final. There's no argument against it. So just to emphasize that. So here, just to make common people understand. So common people, to make them understand, repetition is required. Um, and sometimes people say, "Oh, I'm reading Prabhupada's books. I'm feeling the same thing Prabhupada repeating." In the beginning, people will comment like this. Actually, Prabhupada is talking many things. Prabhupada, because when we read second, third, fourth, fifth, 10th, 20th time, we will see we are reading the same words of Prabhupada, but we are getting different levels of realization. But I mean, beginner, he may feel sometimes that, oh, Prabhupada is saying the same thing, you're not the body, you're the soul, you're not the body, you're the soul. Prabhupada is repeating himself so many times. He thinks like that. The reason is because that is what we need to hear at that time. That's what stands out to us most. But instead of actually submitting to that and, realizing that that's what I need to hear, we think sometimes, oh, why is he saying the same thing? Actually, he's saying so many things there. So as we become more mature, we will find newer and newer meanings from Prabhupada's purpose. So there is experience, of devotees. So that's how spiritual subject is. And if something is being repeated to us as we are reading, that means that is what we need to hear. And that is the instruction of the Lord. I am not the body. Once I at least theoretically accept it, then I can go forward, you know, into the next understanding. So of course, realization also should be there. Hmm? Purport: to emphasize something to an ordinary person, one may repeat it three times, just as one might say, "You must do this, you must do this, you must do this." Thus, the Brihan Naradiya Puran, in fact, our Ritvik system also, the July 9th letter, in fact, four times it is mentioned. Three times directly, and fourth time it's inferring. Of course, it means the same thing. That, the disciples should be Prabhupada's disciples. So, three times he repeated in that same one letter, and still the people cannot get it. Thus, the Brihan Naradiya Puran repeatedly emphasizes the chanting of the holy name so that people may take it seriously and thus free themselves from the clutches of Maya. It is our practical experience in the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world that many millions of people are factually coming to the spiritual stage of life simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra regularly, according to the prescribed principles. Therefore, our request to all our students is that they daily chant at least 16 rounds of this Hare Nama Maha Mantra, CCR 1721, offenselessly, following the regulative principles. Thus, their success will be assured without a doubt. So, Eva certainly is mentioned three times. Then next, Kevala Shabde Punarapi. So, Kevala Shabde Punarapi Nishchaya Karan Jnana Yoga Tapa Karma Adi Nivaran. So, this is the meaning. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself is explaining why Kevala is used. The use of the word Kevala means only, prohibits all other processes such as the cultivation of knowledge, practice of mystic yoga, or performance of austerities and fruitive activities. So, that is the meaning of Kevala. Harer Nam, Harer Nam, Harer Namaiva Kevalam. So this is super emphasis. Eva certainly three times, and Harer Nama three times, Nastyeva three times, and Kevala means only. So Nastyeva, Nastyeva, Nastyeva. It is said that one Nastyeva is for Karma Kanda, one Nastyeva is for Jnana Kanda, one Nastyeva is for Yoga, Hatha Yoga, only Bhakti, chanting, Kevalam. So that is the point. Purport: Our Krishna consciousness movement stresses the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra only, whereas those who do not know the secret of success of this age of Kali unnecessarily indulge in the cultivation of knowledge, the practice of mystic yoga, or the performance of fruitive activities or useless austerities. They are simply wasting their time and misleading their followers. When we point this out very plainly to an audience, members of opposing groups become angry at us. Oh, yeah, this is a famous one. Prabhu shows us always this one. This purport. When we point this out very plainly to an audience, members of the opposing groups become angry at us. But according to the injunctions of the Shastras, we cannot make compromises with these so called jnanis, yogis, karmis, and tapasvis. This is super important. What is that? We cannot make compromises with these rascals. Jnanis, yogis, karmis, and tapasvis. In sharp contrast to this, in ISKCON today, they are doing this. You know, they are doing what they are doing. They are collaborating with. Some are collaborating with Murari Bapu. Some are collaborating with this Bageshwar Dham Baba. Some are collaborating with Ravi Shankar. Collaborating with, first of all, they are themselves producing mundane motivation speakers. Compromising with all kinds of nonsense. All materialistic people. So much compromise. Here it is said, you see, we cannot make compromises with these so-called jnanis, yogis, karmis, and tapasvis. When they say they are good, when they say they are as good as we are, we must say that only we are good and that they are not good. This is we should not be, we should not shy away from a war with these people. Of course, war means philosophically we have to destroy these people, destroy, because they are a complete waste of time for people. People will only get misled by these people. Ah, what to speak? That Sadguru, so called Jaggi Vasudev. Our ISKCON people are compromising with him as well. They made that video. So, so this is not good at all. We must say it. We must be bold enough to say that only we are good and that they're not good. And we must back up our statement. When we say, it's not that we only say, we must be able to back up our statement. From every angle, we must be able to prove to them that only ours is good. This is not our obstinacy, it is the injunction of the Shastras. That is the other thing. It is the injunction of the Shastras. We must not deviate from the injunctions of the Shastras. This is confirmed in the next verse of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. अन्यथा ये माने, अन्यथा ये माने तार नाहि का निस्तार, नाहि 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 ए तीन एवकार. नास्त्येव 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 कथि अन्यथा. Na asti, na. So three times. This verse clearly states that anyone who accepts any other path cannot be delivered. This is the reason for the triple repetition, nothing else, nothing else, nothing else, which emphasizes the real process of self-realization. तृण होते नीच हया सदा लबे नाम आपने निरभिमानी अन्य दिव्यमान. Chant the holy name always. One should be humbler than the grass in the street and devoid of all desire for personal honor, but one should offer others all respectful obeisances. So here we are coming to the point of that verse, which is Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahishuna Amanna Manatena Kirtaniya Sadahari. I think next verse is that. So now that is established that Harer Nama Eva Kevalam Kalau Nasteva 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 Gatiranyatha. So Harer Nama, Harinam is the only way. But how this Kirtaniya Sadahari, how to do this? Always chanting. One should be humbler than grass and devoid of all personal honor, and one should offer respect or others all respectful obeisances. तरु सम सहिष्णुता वैष्णव करिबे भर्त्सन ताड़ने काके किच्छु ना बोलिबे. A devotee engaged in chanting the holy name of the Lord should practice forbearance like that of a tree. Even if rebuked or chastised, he should not say anything to others to retaliate. You know, we made a shot on this. Haridas Thakur. খণ্ড খণ্ড হয়ে দেহ যায় যদি প্রাণ তবে আমি তবে আমি বদনে না ছাড়ি হরি নাম. So he's saying, খণ্ড খণ্ড হয়ে দেহ যায় যদি প্রাণ তবু আমি বদনে না ছাড়ি হরি নাম. Even if my body is cut to pieces, um, even my life leaves my body, I will not stop chanting the holy name. That means even if I die, people kill me for it, I don't care. I will not stop. That is the determination. Haridas Thakur. ऐसा बुझिवे रे कृष्णा करो हो प्रसाद मोर न हो. uh, what is that? अपराध मोर न हो द्रोह. um, मोर न हो. What is it? Last line. Right. And खंड खंड होय देहो जाय जदि प्राण तबु आमी वदने ना छाड़ी हरि नाम. ऐसा बुझिवे कृष्ण करो हो प्रसाद मोर द्रोहे नहे मोर द्रोहे न हो ऐसा भार अपराध. Even if my body is cut into pieces and I lose my life, I will never give up chanting the whole Lord's holy name. O Krishna, please be merciful upon these poor souls. Kindly excuse them for their offense of torturing me. So somebody is saying, unfortunately, this Bible verse Matthew 6.7 and 8 actually forbids chanting. Well, I don't know about Bible much, but from what I understand, we must chant in the Bible. Let's see, I have to see those verses. I know what context, I know who introduced the verse. I don't care about what that says. Every religion is supposed to chant anyway. Why is there hallowed be thy name? Okay, so go back. Hmm. And regarding this forbearance and tolerance, couple of I think three verses which always come to mind is तिरस्कृता विप्रलब्धाः शप्ताः क्षिप्ताः हता अपि नास्य तत्प्रतिकुर्वन्ति तद्भक्ताः प्रभवोऽपि हि. The devotees of the Lord are so forbearing that even though they are defamed, cheated, cursed, disturbed, neglected, or even killed, they never incline to avenge themselves. That's an important point. Okay? Themselves. But if it is for the Lord or another devotee, they will be like fire. And for themselves, yes, they will tolerate defamation, cheating, cursing, disturbing, neglect, or even killed. You know. Then we have this verse 5:5:13. Rishabdev began to tour through cities, villages, mines, countrysides, valleys, gardens, military camps, cow pens, the homes of cowherdmen, transient hotels, hills, forests, and hermitages. So, as an avadhut, as a mendicant, he was just walking and he was moving He was not staying in a particular place. Wherever he traveled, all bad elements surrounded him, just as flies surround the body of an elephant coming from a forest. He was always being threatened, beaten, urinated upon, and spat upon. Sometimes people threw stones, stool, and dust at him, and sometimes people passed foul air before him. Thus, people called him many bad names and gave him a great deal of trouble, but he did not care about this, for he understood that the body is simply meant for such an end. He was situated on the spiritual platform and being in his spiritual glory, he did not care for all these material insults. In other words, he completely understood that matter and spirit are separate and he had no bodily conception. Thus, without being angry at anyone, he walked through the whole world alone. Look at the amount of tolerance, right? And there's another verse. तो वमानितो सद्भिः प्रलब्धोऽसूयितोऽथवा ताडितः सन्निरुद्धो वा वृत्त्या वा परिहापितः निष्ठ्युतो मूर्त्रितो वाग्ञैर्बहुधैवं प्रकम्पितः श्रेयस्कामः कृच्छ्रगत आत्मनात्मानमुद्धरेत्. Even though neglected, insulted, ridiculed, or envied by bad men, or even though repeatedly agitated by being beaten, tied up, or deprived of one's occupation, spat upon, or polluted with urine by ignorant people, one who desires the highest goal in life should, in spite of all these difficulties, use his intelligence to keep himself safe on the spiritual platform. Here you see the last word. And just imagine the amount of tolerance that is required. Atman Atmanam Uddharet. Okay, remember those words. Atman Atmanam Uddharet. Do they sound familiar? Uddharedatmanatmanam Natmanam Avasadayet Atmaiva Hyatmano Bandhur Atmaiva Ripuratmanaha. 6th chapter, 5th verse of Bhagavad Gita. Same word. Uddharet Atmanatmanam. In today's verse, just now in the other verse, 11:22:59. Atmanatmanam Uddharet. Here Uddharet Atmanatmanam. What is that? One must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. So here it is said like this, but what is this mind being friend and not the enemy? And so suppose these people insult or disturb us in any way based on the material body. Using our intelligence to keep ourselves safe on the spiritual platform means if I retaliate to such insults or if I respond to praise, both are not good because my absorption in bodily consumption is increasing. When I'm praised, my ego is ballooned, right? My ego is fueled, and then when I'm insulted, my ego is hurt. So it's an ego game always. So praise, one should not be too happy. In fact, the way Prabhupada mentioned that if somebody praises us, because as devotees sometimes people praise. If the devotee is proper, then he will be praised. Immediately he should offer those praises to his spiritual master. The credit should go to the spiritual master. Because there is one story, the donkey and the deity. You know that story? So an artisan, he carved the deity, and a man purchased the deity and he wanted to install in the temple. So now he was carrying the deity because the deity is heavy. So he packaged the deity and then put on a donkey, and then he was going. Um, and people, I don't know, packaged or not. Maybe people could see, I don't know what. So because the deity was being taken like that, people were saying, "Oh, deity is there." So everybody was bowing down. bowing down. And the donkey was thinking, wow, never got such a royal treatment, man. So he was like, wow, suddenly I became God now. Everybody's bowing down. Yes, this is me. I'm great. They were going and going and going. After the place came, so the deity was unloaded and installed, and the donkey was sent away. And he was looking, and nobody was like bowing down to him. Nothing. What is this? And then he started to like he is not getting the attention that he wanted. So he was braying, making sound to get attention. And people started throwing stones at the donkey. So, so the point is, the greatness one may have is because of Krishna's empowerment, the spiritual master's empowerment. So even if we do something in devotional service, how can we take credit for it when it was, because of the devotees association, when it is because of the mercy of the spiritual master that we are even in the Krishna consciousness to begin with. And whatever we are able to do, that is because the facility is there given by the spiritual master and the senior devotees who are serving the spiritual. For example, this temple is here, and I'm making, say, garlands for the Lord. Okay, garlands for the Lord, and I may be able to make a nice garland, and Krishna wears the garland, and if I think, oh, I made the garland, see how nice the garland is, my garland is good. So so instead of thinking that way, I can always think that I should be grateful to the devotees to have this, for setting up and running this temple and establishing this, so that I can come and do some service, some garland to offer to the Lord. So otherwise, what I'm going to do. Of course, one can do it at home, but doing in the association of devotees and doing in temple has 1,000 times more effect, than at home. The Lord is the same, but the mood is different. So bhava grahi janardhan. What is the bhava? Bhava. So in the temple, the bhava is the Lord is the proprietor. In the house, I am the proprietor. Lord has a small corner room there. Stay there. I am the proprietor. That kind of course, in a devotee's house, um, the Lord is worshipped, and of course, we need space to stay. Understandable, but that is the point. The Lord doesn't take center stage in the house. Of course, Krishna consciousness, one must put Lord in the center. But the desires of the family members also have to be entertained and all of that. But in temple, it's a totally different thing. And in the association of devotees who practice devotional service in the authorized way, it has to be authorized. Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatra Vidhim Vina Aikantiki Harer Bhakti Utpataya Iva Kalpate. Its authorization must be there. People don't like this word authorization. They say, oh, no, this authorized. Somebody always have to put rules. Cannot expand. No. We will expand only with following the authorized path. Otherwise, we cannot expand. We think it is expansion. It is not expansion. It is just Bahushakhaya Anantascha Buddhayo Avyavasayanam. Branched out intelligence, which is not focused. Focused intelligence is what we need. And the focus we will get when we follow the path and rules. So that these rules are like guardrails. You know what's guardrails? The railing. When a staircase, there is guardrails so that you don't fall off the staircase. So staircase is meant for you to get down, but you can get down by jumping out also, right? So you might fall. So to guard yourself from fall down, there is a guard rail, so that those railings are there. So these guardrails, these authorized process means the acharyas, the Lord have set up guardrails for us so that we can achieve our destination. Hmm. So like that, we have to follow that process, and it always is on terms of Krishna's terms. Devotional service is always on Krishna's terms, not on our terms. Not that I can invent my own form of bhakti. Crap. I cannot do that. I must always do as Krishna wants me to do. That is anukulyena sankalpaha. So anukulyena Krishnanushilanam. So that is favorably disposed. Not that I invent my own way and Krishna has to accept my invention. No, why you should accept your invention? That's not how it works. Arambha must be from Krishna. The program should be given by Krishna. We are only to follow. And in the matter of execution of such order, yes, there may be many sub prarambhas or arambhas or initiatives. Like, you know, to plan to, set up a preaching center, to start construction of a temple, or to make a plan to travel and preach in a certain country. So, or to organize a preaching trip, something like this. So these plans, yes, they're definitely plans. You initiate a plan, yes, but that plan is a secondary plan on the overarching order, which is to preach Krishna consciousness. There, to in the execution of such order, many initiatives can be undertaken. That too, those initiatives have to be authorized by the devotees, because we will speculate and start a speculative initiative. So we don't want speculation. Authorized. Yeah, authorized. The word authorized should be ingrained. Yeah. So anyway, one must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. So we have to be prepared. We will start chanting, right? We will start chanting. Krishna will test. Because we have to come to the point of Kirtaniya Sadahari. We are nowhere close. Why? Trinadapi Sunichana, Tarorapi Sahishana are not happening. Amanina Manadina are not happening. Definitely. And that is the reason why I can't chant every moment of my life. Because if I am in that position, I should be able to chant always. But I'm unable to do that. That means these things are not in place. Okay. So, well, unless we have those things in place and unless we have the Satatam Kirtayanto Mam or what is that? Kirtaniya Sadahari or Satatam Kirtayanto Mam, always chanting Hare Krishna. Unless that is happening, we cannot go back to Krishna. So then these Trinada Pisunishana, Tarora Pisashana lessons have to be learned. Amanina Manadin lessons have to be learned. So Krishna will give multiple lessons throughout our lives. And every time it may be increasing in level, increasing in intensity, increasing in, you know, uh, responsibility, increasing in visibility. For example, a small, beginner devotee who comes and who gets chastised for some, not being able to sweep, nobody will know. Will be forgotten in time. Nobody will remember. But if one becomes more and more involved in the movement, then eventually he will have to accept more and more responsible services. And then his visibility becomes more. And any small mistake he does, Sanyasira Alpa Chidra Sarvaloki Gai. Small mistake will be, whole world will talk about it. Whereas when you're starting, nobody will talk about it. So the stakes become higher as we grow. And then the room for error, the room for, making a mistake will be lower and lower. We can't just be careless. We have to be very careful in how we handle situations. So at every moment we will be tested with these things. Trinadapi Sunichena, whether I will still maintain my humility, my tolerance, respecting others, not expecting any respect. In the beginning, it may be easy to not expect any respect. But as you grow, when you become more and more qualified in devotional service, you learn some musical instruments, or will sing, or cook, or distribute books, or give a class, or organize festivals, manage temples. So in these aspects, if one is doing well, and by the mercy of Krishna, of course, by mercy of Guru and Krishna and devotees. But if I take the credit like the donkey, then the Lord will also dismount himself from us. And then like the deity dismounted from the donkey, and the donkey had no value then. So similarly, um, the whatever praises we are receiving is only because of the Lord and the devotees and Vaishnava and Guru. Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita. That Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. In that song, third verse, Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita. Hari, Guru, Vaishnava, and Bhagavat, which is Srimad Bhagavatam, and Gita, Bhagavad Gita. So these should be our life. We should be authorized by these authorities. Who? Hari, Guru, Vaishnava, Bhagavata, and Gita. Basically, Guru Sadhu Shastra, which is of course coming from Hari only. So Hari, Guru, Vaishnava, Bhagavata, Gita. So this Hari, Guru, Vaishnava, by their mercy only we are able to move forward. But if I take credit, because when we get praised, then our Amanina Manadena is tested, our Trinada Pisunichana is tested. Sometimes devotees hurl some insults. You must say, hey, how as a devotee you can speak like this? Okay, he cannot speak like that. How you can think like this? That also I have to think, no? You know. What is that? There's a story. Hmm. I think one of the ISKCON devotees was telling the story. So he was complaining to the senior devotees that oh this person is doing like that to me, he's like doing like this to me, how to tolerate him, he's so offensive, this and that. And the senior devotee heard and everything. And after that, he said, yes. So yeah, it may be difficult to live with him and cooperate with him, but you have to tolerate him just like so many other people are tolerating you also. So the point is, we are being tolerated first of all. You know, when we are in the association of devotees, and we come with all kinds of materialistic ideas, upbringing or conditioning or whatever, we have our own sets of faults, right? And people are putting up with that. Sometimes they may not say anything, but there's definitely bound to be some discomfort caused by us, knowingly or unknowingly, and they are putting up with it. So I also have to put up with inconveniences, tolerance. So those are smaller, and sometimes it may be bigger. Sometimes we may feel it is bigger, actually it is small. So Krishna wants to purify us of all these things. So Krishna will engineer situations where this verse, this Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahashruna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari verse will be tested and tested and tested and tested and tested like anything throughout our lives. And if we don't learn in one life, next life, next life, until that comes, Kirtaniya Sadahari cannot happen, and we cannot enter into the kingdom of God, Golok Vrindavan or Vaikuntha. We cannot enter. Okay, so going back, Atileha taru jena kichu na boloy, Shukai amare tabu jalana magai. For even if one cuts a tree, it never protests. And even if it is drying up and dying, it does not ask anyone for water. So tolerance is of three kinds: Adhyatmic, Adhibhautik, Adhidaivik tolerance. This cutting by somebody is Adhibhautik, drying up and dying because of no water supply, rain, Adhidaivik. So, and sometimes Adhyatmic. So, Adhyatmic, okay, we have nothing, nobody else to blame, we are ourselves to blame. So, we kind of tolerate sometimes Adhyatmic. But, and sometimes we become worse. Even though it is caused by me, the misery, I will blame others. So, even when it is not my fault, I blame others. And when it is actually their fault, then how am I going to tolerate their fault? You know? So, especially Adhibhautik, Adhidaivik, and especially Adhibhautik is where we have a problem. When something happens, like for example, some calamity happens and our house gets destroyed, say, nothing you can do about it, you will go to insurance and get your thing done or whatever, but somebody else does it to us, neighbor or somebody else, of course we'll call police, and it is difficult to tolerate. The most difficult thing to tolerate is the adhibhautik. Adhidaivik We kind of know we cannot fight with the devatas. We can't even talk to him. So just accept, and difficult for us, but we'll cry and then go on. Adhyatmic, well, I myself did it. So what can I say? What can I say? Or sometimes I do say and I blame others. That is stupid. When others are doing adhibhautik, this is where we have a serious problem. So, um, what is that? 214. मात्रा स्पर्शास्तु कौन्तेय शीतोष्ण सुख दुःखदाः आगमापायिनो नित्यास्तां स्थितिक्षस्व भारत. See, first thing Krishna spoke that never there was a time when you and I did not exist, and in the future also will continue to be. We are all eternal. Now the soul, eternal soul, is moving through these bodies. What is that? Dehinosmin yatha dehe. So we are moving through all this. So you are eternal and your body is temporary. So you're going to face all this friction between your real existence and your conceived existence, which is this bodily existence. So there's going to be a lot of battles you have to fight because you are constant, but the body is moving, and but you identify yourself with the body and you think you're moving from birth to death through growth, middle age, old age, finally death. So you're going to identify with that, but now you have to shift your identity. You have to separate yourself from that, and then you're the soul, and then this body is going through all these things. You are just a spectator in the whole thing. So to come out of that, you're going to face a lot of. You have to shift your whole paradigm of thinking. So there will be a lot of what is it, shitoshna, like winter and summer, seasonal changes. There will be so many changes, and not only changes, I mean inconvenient situations, and not only whether we are self-realized or not. Even if we are not, there will be so many sufferings, right? Because the body is material world, you have to have suffering. Now when one is spiritually realized, or at least is trying for it, he has to consciously put an effort in every single situation actively. Actively means not just a passive spectator to events and then not connecting with philosophy, and only when sitting in the class, okay, thinking a little bit about philosophy, or when reading. That is not the way one can advance. One should read these things, and everything that is happening we should see it through shastra chakshu. We have to do that. One has to write one's experiences. That will be even better. Now, that writing will actually make our thinking in a structured way. We will um, structure our thinking. If you want to talk about anything, think about anything, writing is very important. Uh, so anyway, Prabhupada always wanted us to write. Back to God at articles, or nowadays we have social media and everything. We should practice that writing. Speaking is one thing. Speaking, you will still be all over the place, and you can whatever. But when you're writing, you have to have a very logical flow, very structured flow. So that will organize your thought. It is not about, oh, I'm not qualified, therefore I cannot write. No, no, no. To qualify yourself, you have to write. Why? Because otherwise we cannot organize the whole. See, one thing we have to understand: we are never qualified to perform any service. We are never qualified. Thus, we are only performing our service to purify ourselves. You know, see, Adi 9.5. एषव प्रसादे लिखी चैतन्य लीला गुण जानी वाना जाने करे आपन शोधन. Sridhas Kaviraj Goswami, the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita, is writing. It is by the mercy of all these Vaishnavas and Gurus that I attempt to write about the pastimes and qualities of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Whether I know it or not, it is for self-purification that I write this book. Jani vana jani karana apana shodhan. Pari apana shodhan. So this is very important. Apana shodhan. Self-purification. And the same thing is conveyed in what is that? The 636. Is it? Yes. तथापि कीर्तयाम्यङ्ग यथामति यथा श्रुतं कीर्तिं हरेः स्वां सत्कर्तुं गिरमन्याभिधासतीम्. In spite of my inability. So you see, in spite of my inability, I'm not able. That's the point. This is exactly how we should approach service. In spite of my inability, whatever I have been able to hear from the spiritual master, first of all, you have to hear. Not that I write, I start writing first. Hear first. Hear first. Because if you don't know anything, what are you going to write? Some rubbish you're going to write. Hear first. And not just hear and speculate after that. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. So these things have to be there. Inquiry, service. Then, yes, after we have heard a little bit, then we can start to write. And in spite of my inability, whatever I have been able to hear from the spiritual master and whatever I could assimilate, I am now describing in glorification of the Lord by pure speech. For otherwise, my power of speaking would remain unchaste. If I don't speak about the Lord, I will remain unchaste. It is for my purification I am doing it. Okay. And the other thing about it is about writing. It may not be for publication yet. You can start writing in a diary that you can keep, in a notebook that you may keep. That's why this contemplation, this Vichar notebook, which I think alluded to in my other live stream. I'm going to make a video on this sometime in maybe March after I've used a bit. So, contemplation notebook should be there where you pen down your thoughts about a particular subject. Okay, maybe you discuss something, or you attended the class and then some subject was discussed. And then, you can write about your realization of the subject from what you have learned so far from our books. So, in that way, what happens is eventually we have to get to this point where in the service of Krishna we have to engage with people, and that is the transition from Kanishta Adhikari to Madhyama Adhikari, because Madhyama Adhikari is a preacher. Okay. And we have to preach, and preaching means to present our ideas, our not our ideas, our philosophy to the people, right? And it has to be having a logical flow, it has to be coherent. So that's when you write, you're refining your thinking process. Now it is like some mashed up khichdi. Philosophy is there, yes, kind of understanding is there maybe, but not so solidified, not so granular, not so crystal clear yet. It has to become crystal clear for my own purification, because I should be convinced. It is to convince myself that I should write, not to convince somebody else. And when I'm writing, I will start to realize that yes, this part, how to like put it properly. So I may think about it or take advice, and sometimes just by writing we will get it. So, but first we must read and hear. Okay, don't start writing first. That's not the first thing. Shravanam and then Kirtanam. You can only repeat when you heard first. Otherwise, you're talking nonsense. You'll go speculate. So don't do that. That's why it is said, Yathamati yatha shrutam. See, in spite of my inability, whatever I have been able to hear, first heard from the spiritual master, and whatever I could assimilate. I hear many things, but I could assimilate only few things, or I could assimilate in my own way, at my own level. The same instruction, another devotee will assimilate at a different level of understanding. Same thing, I may have a lower understanding. So, whatever I could assimilate, whatever I heard, I am now describing in glorification of the Lord by pure speech. Pure speech means, oh, now I'm pure. No. By just serving the Lord with my speech, it becomes pure. For otherwise, my power of speaking would remain unchaste. Sorry. Okay. Then this another verse is there. What is that verse? Mhm. How come I forgot? Sky. Birds in the sky. 118:23. O rishis, so let's read the Sanskrit. अहं हि पृष्टोर्य अहं हि पृष्टोर्यमणो भवद्भिर् आचक्ष आत्मावगमोऽत्र यावान् नभः पतन्त्यात्मसमं पतत्रिणस् तथा समं विष्णुगतिं विपश्चितः. O rishis who are as powerfully pure as the sun, I shall try to describe to you the transcendental pastimes of Vishnu as far as my knowledge allows. As the birds fly in the sky as far as their capacity allows, so do the learned devotees describe the Lord as far as their realization allows. The subject matter of the Lord is they are like the unlimited sky. The bird's capacity to fly at a certain altitude um, limits the height of the birds, the height of flight of the birds. So, according to my capacity, I can go. Otherwise, the subject matter is unlimited. So it doesn't matter if I don't completely know everything. Nobody can know. Not even Brahma can know. Yeah. In fact, what to speak, the Lord Himself does not know Himself. That is also stated. Do you know that the Lord Himself does not know Himself? How can we know? See this. Sri Bhagavan Vacha Janma Karmabhidhanani Santi Menga Sahasrashah Nashakyante no Sankhyatum Anantatvan Mayapihi. Supreme Lord said, my dear friend, I have taken thousands of births, lived thousands of lives, and accepted thousands of names. In fact, my births, activities, and names are limitless, and thus even I cannot count them. Yeah. गुणात्मनस्तेऽपि गुणान् विमातुम् एतावतीर्णस्य क ईशिरेस्य कालेन यैर्वा विमिताः सुकल्पैर्भूपांशवः खेमिः काद्युभासः. In time, learned philosophers or scientists may be able to count all the atoms of the earth, the particles of snow, or perhaps even the shining molecules radiating from the sun, the stars, and other luminaries. But among these learned men, who could possibly count the unlimited transcendental qualities possessed by you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who have descended unto the surface of the earth for the benefit of all living entities? No one can actually know the Lord because He is unlimited. As much as one goes to the higher and higher planets, more and more of the unlimited glories of the Lord are revealed to him. I was reading this beautiful explanation because, oh, I haven't shared it on any of the social media. In our temple room, I got this map, Goloka chart. Um, so nicely, it is mentioned, very nicely done, with all the structure of the Devi Dham or material world, spiritual world. There is of course one which is like the chart, which is more you know elementary, but there is another one which is much more detailed and with all the quoted references, all the verses that are related to this description are also stated on the side. So that whole thing is framed up. Recently, when I went to India, Devaki Mataji helped get those. So we framed up one big one, and now it is in our temple room. And there, I was reading this one. So I was reading the coverings of the material world. So the universe is like a shell, and then it is covered by layers of earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and pradhana, ego, pradhana. After that, so all these layers are there. So it's like a tight shell. Now, all this while we knew, right? I mean, for those of you who are considerably long in our movement, you might be knowing that our universe is like a shell, 4 billion miles in diameter, I mean, and then the covering layer of earth is 10 times the radius of the inside the shell, I mean the space, 10 times thick. And the water layer, the next layer, is 10 times the thickness of the earth layer. So the next layer, fire, is 10 times the thickness of the water layer. So in this way, it is increasing. So the width or the thickness of the coverings is way, way, way more. I mean, like 10 to the power of 8 times. No, not even that. I mean, 15, 20. I don't know. It's like 44. That's what I've read. Some 10 to the power of 44, something. You can do the math. I mean, very simple math, but yeah, I don't want to like waste my time now. So that thick, and then the space within is very small actually. Now, I thought always, all this while, that those shells are like like the earth layer, like thick, like solid earth. But you know what? It is not solid earth. It is subtle earth. Subtle, the five elements, but subtle. So in fact, not only it is covering, in each of these coverings there is living entities living, unlimited living entities are living there, and the enjoyment in the earth layer that is covering the universe is higher than Brahmaloka, and the covering of water layer, it is the enjoyment is higher than on the earth layer, the subtle earth, subtle water layer. So it is higher than even Brahmaloka, and in each of these layers, I mean, not only layers, but even our planets, like say for example animals, they cannot know anything about the Lord. Dumb as, I don't know, dumb as an animal. So animals are dumb. So human beings, they have, that is the beginning of possibility of liberation. And then go higher, like the Upadevas, like the Gandharvas, Kinnaras, Charanas, Vidyadharas, their Kimpurushas and all this. Their understanding is higher. They know more of the glories of the Lord than we do. The Devatas or the Asuras, you can say, but Asuras are not really favorable, they are unfavorable. So you can say Devatas. Devatas, they are more aware of the qualities of the Lord. As you go higher, Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, Satyaloka, and more, the glories of the Lord become uncovered even more and more. More information about the Lord glories are known to them than the lower beings. And likewise, the inhabitants of the earth layer of the universe, the covering layer, they have more access to the glories of the Lord than even the Brahmaloka inhabitants. That is very interesting to note. So, so anyway, um, so it's vast expanse of this thing, space, and all these things, and the glories of the Lord are progressively known more and more. Sometimes we think, oh, I know about Krishna. Arey yaar, what are we thinking? Now you know this verse, right? Only brainless people talk like this. You see, Jananta eva janantu kimba huktya name prabho manasova pushovacho vaibhavam tava gocharaha. The best thing about this verse is it was spoken by Lord Brahma, the highest being in this material world, in this material universe. Let's see what he says. There are people who say, I know everything about Krishna. Brahma is so disgusted with them. He's saying, let them think that way. You know what? I just don't want to even talk about them. As far as I am concerned, I do not wish to speak very much about this matter. I don't want to even. Well, that's how his attitude is. He is saying this much. Okay. Let them say. I don't want to comment on them. But I'll say this much about myself. What is he saying? Oh my Lord. Let me say this much. As far as your appearances are concerned, they are all beyond the reach of my mind, body, and words. And the important word in this entire verse is mind. Not an ordinary person, my Brahma, with four heads, my. Anybody who's lesser than Brahma, who's saying that I know Krishna, rascal. That one word, my, spoken by Brahma, is proving everybody a rascal in this material world. So um, we have to be humble, and by humility, then the Lord will actually reveal. He may not reveal everything actually. Um, Reveal as much as one's love is reposed on the Lord. Sometimes we'll bless them with knowledge, like Rupa Goswami. He could compose such beautiful poetry in the service of the Lord, and compile all the literature. Jiva Goswami. So yeah, I mean they were manjaris, gopis. If they're empowered, they can preach. They know everything about them, everything, because they're highest philosophy. But they actually don't care about any other thing, because not care in the sense don't care, but they're in such elevated mood of service. They are thinking on a much higher thing, a much higher platform, thinking about Krishna always. Of course, they're aware of all the inferior understandings, like what we are trying to understand the universe, and how the Lord's hand is there. Gopis don't care. Yashoda Maya saw the universe in his mouth and said, "Okay, next time don't eat dirt. Okay, enough." So, it's a bewildering thing. And she also fainted, but after that came back and the next time don't eat dirt. Okay, okay, be a good boy. Okay, fine. That's it. She just wants to serve Krishna. After seeing those universes, she did not like, hey, what is this universes? Can you explain to me all these universes and all this? An ordinary person would be very interested. Hey, tell me about this year, tell me about that year. She's not interested. Universes, so what? Krishna, you are here. That's all I want. Don't eat dirt because you will get disease. You will become sick. So don't do this. Okay? That means what? She's so much in love with Krishna that yeah, he can be Lord or he doesn't. He's not Lord. Doesn't matter. I love him. That's all. Independent of his position, we are loving the Lord because He is the Lord. She doesn't care He's the Lord or not. But of course, should we care He's the Lord? Yes, we should. Oh, yeah. If I also think that okay, I don't care whether it's the Lord or not. I will just love my husband or my wife. I don't care whether she's the Lord or not. I'll just love her. These so-called caring of not caring of whether they don't care whether He's the Lord or not. They simply love Him. It's not as based in ignorance as it sounds to be. It's not. They are so much captivated by Krishna that you know, they just want Krishna. That's it. That's it. They're so immersed in Krishna thought. So it's a very different thing. So anyway, Brahma said this. So we can think how where do we fit in if Brahma is saying this. So going back, yeah, this is where I was. We should write. Writing. Then we become second class devotees. We will start to organize our thoughts or structure our thoughts, and don't spend like ages to write one article. So just you know it can be small, but write something. Hmm. And then we have to also do another thing: go out and distribute books. Why? Because then you will actually interact with people. That's where your arguments will refine over practice. That is a preaching and practice for you also, same time. So that's where our arguments will refine and everything. So we have to constantly practice this, because eventually, if you see how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu debated all these people, right? Big scholars. So we should be able to do that in the service of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We should do that. It should get to that. And we should conduct ourselves it's not enough to just know the philosophy. Oh, I know the highest philosophy. All you all are rascals. Fine. But now I should turn those rascals to devotees. No. That's what the whole point of preaching is. Because I was a rascal. I was given this chance to become devotees. So they are rascals, yes, but they have to make they have to become devotees, right? So our preaching should be with that mood. So sometimes we get carried away in our argument and get all emotional. No, it has to be civil, because when you go emotional and then we fight, and then it is not conducive for anything. So we should Debate, yes. Civil debate. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said about it. So we should have such programs. So we should be ready for such next level preachings. So for that we have to take it seriously. Okay, so regarding this, Saikarthi has a question. Okay, let me take the question. Prabhu, so on the subject of writing, is taking notes from Prabhupada books a good idea? Can you please give any tips on how to do so with pen and paper, like how to be organized, etc.? So I'm actually going to do a video on this subject on my channel, but to give a brief introduction to this, um, as I said, our contemplation book should be there. I called my book as Tattvavit, um, to do my vichar on the tattva of Krishna consciousness. So, of course, one day the book will be finished, and then we'll have more books. So you'll have a eventually you'll have a library of these books and other books on sloka collection. But first, I would say you just read. Don't even take notes. Just read. First reading should be just reading, and try to. You will get a, although vague, you will get a kind of an idea of the philosophy. You may not be able to pinpoint references and shlokas, but you will know the general philosophy. That kind of preliminary understanding of the, say, for example, Bhagavad Gita, or let's say even a small book, read, and then, okay, what did you understand? So, after you read the book, okay, instead of taking notes while reading the book, after you have read, okay, what lesson stuck with me for sure? Like what I did understand, what I'm absolutely sure about that I did understand from this book. So I can take notes about that. That's the first reading. So the other day I was talking about the four kinds of reading, right? What is that? Um, Preliminary reading, analytical reading, elementary reading, inspectional reading, analytical reading, and synoptical reading. Um, so analytical reading, and that's when we, for example, Bhagavad Gita, and read the Bhagavad Gita first chapter. And actually, I realized that when I memorize the verses and recite them over and over again, trying to memorize the chapters of Bhagavad Gita all together, and as I'm chanting the verse, I should know the meaning of each and every word that I'm saying. Otherwise, there's no point. So I should reflect on the meaning as I'm chanting the verse. Otherwise, this memorizing by rote without meditating on the meaning while you're chanting, not so effective. Um, so by doing that, then we are thinking about the same verse multiple times, and eventually you will see a pattern. You will see a pattern. Okay, chapter 1 has 46 verses. Okay, the first 10 verses are all about the armies and Duryodhan's estimation of both armies. Okay, so that is a section. So each chapter can be divided into sections. So this is section, this is, then 11 to 30 is Krishna. Sorry, I'm sorry. Uh, Actually, for not only for, yeah, first 10 verses, yeah, and then the 11 to, not 11, 11 is still 12 onwards to 18 is the conch shell blowing and all getting prepared for war. And then Arjuna says 1920, he says, you know get me there, 21, 22. He says, get me in the midst of both armies. I want to see the both armies. And 24, 25, 25 is where Krishna says, here, behold. That's it. That's one thing he says in the first chapter. That's it. And Arjuna sees everyone. And 26 onwards, the downhill of Arjuna's emotions start, where he becomes depressed. Why am I doing this? Why should I kill all these people? They're all my relatives and friends, and I don't want anything. You know what? Let them have it. All this kind of stuff starts. And then he first becomes all, shaky, 28 onwards to 31. He becomes, all kinds of symptoms of anxiety. senses start drying up, hair standing on end, voice faltering, Gandhi was slipping from his hand, everything happens. And then 32nd to 46, he's justifying his thoughts of for not fighting. He's making the argument for why I shouldn't fight this war. And then that's the end of the first chapter. So in this way, if you can have this idea like, okay, what is the, so you can divide this chapter into sections, and then important verses at each of these sections, you can pick up those and start memorizing those and start using them in your preaching, because if you don't use it regularly in your preaching, then you will forget. So in your writings, in your preaching, so the best way is when you analyze like this, um, and then you will start to see patterns or connections which you did not otherwise would not otherwise have seen. So whatever your realization, then you write them, pen them down. Okay. So eventually this becomes, in the beginning we will not be able to write. Forget it. Reading first, and then once you start to, think about everything in terms of Shastra, eventually Krishna will inspire you from within. Okay, something will strike, and then share the realization with others. So that's something we need to learn. And yeah, pen and paper. So the I would say deliberate moving away from technology and writing on pen and paper is important, because we don't want to be distracted by all those icons on our mobile screens and all those notifications that come. So we want to be away from that and do it on a book. And there is no search function where you can, of course, there is a way to index your notes, which will have a decent enough search function for you, like where is what. But if you want to search exactly something which you have written in a note or something like that, so it is not about searching. When you search something, you are kind of relying on that machine to give you the answer. You are not thinking actively about that subject. Hey, that verse about something I wrote something interesting. What was I? No. Okay, yeah, search and I got it. But here we want to engage actively with the what we have written. So you, instead of scrolling the phone, you can thumb the pages of the book, and then when you have time, you can just go back and yeah, that was okay. Yeah, that verse I've noted down. Okay. So like that, I'll make a whole video on my realizations on this process, which I'm just started only. So you can start. I mean, take a book and start writing first, and collect verses and collect quotes or whatever which you think. And every now and then you can just like um, thumb through the pages and revisit you know uh, those things that you've written and all of that. Okay, this, would it help to read aloud? Then it would be Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam all at once. I mean, you can, but you might disturb other people by doing that. If they are also reading at the same time, for example, they want to focus on what they are reading. So, myself, I don't read aloud. It's sometimes I can read aloud, but nothing is going in the mind. It's mostly if I would rather do it silently and read and think about it, and then read, and then if I like something or if I want to remember something, I can read it again and again and again, and then go to the next one. That's how I would do it. Okay, so yeah. Anyway, this is what's the time? 9:30. I think that's a good time to stop, probably, or we have more. Okay, let's read this. For even if one cuts a tree, it never protests, and even if it is drying up and dying, it does not ask for anyone for water. Okay, purport. This practice of forbearance, tarorapi sahishnuna, is very difficult. But when one actually engages in chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, the quality of forbearance automatically develops. Yes. So it is complementary. So once we become Trinada Pisunichana Tarorapi Sahishnuna, then we can chant. And when we chant, Then we can do more of Trinada Vishnu Chana, because when we chant Hare Krishna, immediately entire knowledge is there inside that mantra, and we have to be conscious of that. The knowledge is that Hare Krishna means the energy of Krishna and Krishna himself. So I have to engage everything in Krishna's service, and Srimati Radharani is his, uh, embodiment of all energy, and everything that exists is an expansion of her, and it has to be used in Krishna's service. I myself am supposed to only engage in Radha and Krishna's service. How? Because I'm a spirit soul and I'm eternally related to Krishna, and therefore I'm begging the Lord for service, eternal service at His lotus feet. So automatically it includes the knowledge that I'm not this body. I'm your servant, Radha and Krishna. I'm not anybody else's, or my family, or all these things, country. I'm not. So in this way, the entire knowledge is there in the Hare Krishna mantra. So as we're chanting, if you see the Vaishnava songs, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Narottam Das Thakur, especially those songs where they are very humble and considering themselves very fallen and everything. And when we read those songs, and actually it is good to even learn those songs by heart. Even if we can't, at least read those translations of the song and the song itself. And as people sing cinema songs as they go about, and you can always sing some Vaishnava songs and meditate on the meaning. And they are showing how to be humble. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Narottam Das Thakur, by these songs, they're showing us how to be humble. And all those songs are expansions of the holy name. Those songs are the moods in which we have to sing or chant the holy name. The mood of the song, all the different flavors. There are so many songs. All of them are expansions from the holy name. All those songs that they have written are the moods of those acharyas as they're chanting, and that they're conveying to us in the form of those songs. So that it's easy for us to sing and remember all those. Because if it's not poetic, then we will not. It's not easy to remember, easy to chant. So they have even made that easy for us by composing songs, because we like to sing. Okay, instead of singing nonsense, sing this. So like that. A person advanced in spiritual consciousness through the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra need not practice to develop it separately, this forbearance. For a devotee develops all good qualities simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra regularly. So how does this happen? Why should I not try to develop forbearance separately? Just by chanting it happens. How does it happen? Practically, I'm chanting Hare Krishna, but how am I going to get forbearance? Well, when we chant, Krishna listens to our chanting, and he wants to help us. He wants to increase our forbearance, increase our humility. So okay. Then he engineers situations with devotees, and when then we have to face. Then we find ourselves inadequate to face those situations in a sane mind. We always think of either leaving the association of devotees, or that person should leave, or I should leave, or something like this. We always think this way. Wrong thinking. Very, very wrong. Because once we start thinking like that, Krishna will make sure that okay, you talk so much about leaving, okay, I will put you out of the association of devotees. Let's see how much you can enjoy. I want to see. So then when we miss the association, then we start thinking about it. Or if we don't miss, and if we really are vicious, then he will keep us away from the devotees as long as possible. Stay away. Better don't come back at all. Because you come back, you come create more offenses. So better you stay away. So Krishna will engineer situations where we will have to learn. So that's how we will learn all those qualities, imbibe all those qualities automatically. So it's not that by chanting I'm going to become immediately tolerant without anything. Krishna will test, and he will test a little more than we are comfortable with, always. So then that's when we will learn, when we're in the um, discomfort zone. Growth always happens in the discomfort zone, not when we're comfortable. Um, Mata Vaishnava Kare Kichunama Gibo Ayachita Vritti Kimva Shaka Phala Khaibo. That's a Vaishnava should not ask anything from anyone else. If someone gives him something without being asked, he should accept it. But if nothing comes, a Vaishnava should be satisfied to eat whatever vegetables and fruits are easily available. सदा नाम लइब यथा लाभे ते संतोष eight achar kore bhakti dharma posh. Okay, so again, this thing as well. You know, whatever you know, whatever comes of its accord, let it come, and I should be as much as possible focused in Krishna Seva. You know, I should not make more and more plans to increase my material activity. That is what it means by Sahishnuna. Because, the problem in the material world is we want to be comfortable. It comes at a price, enormous price. Our whole life we have to work like an ass to be that so called comfortable. And that comes with a lot of concomitant. Already working like an ass is bad enough. To add to it, there is association of non devotees that you have to deal with, and a lack of time to read Prabhupada's books to deal with, lack of time to come to the temple and associate with devotees to deal with. You have a lot of things to deal with. When you say yes to something, you're automatically saying no to another thing. Choose what you say yes to and no to. Be very, very prudent in your decision making. When I'm saying yes to something, I'm automatically saying no to something because time is finite. If I spend time here, I cannot spend time there. So, what will ultimately help when I'm going to die? Some people think, yeah, but die, yeah, but as we are living, we should, you know, we are in the material world, so we have to, have these material things. What is that? Kamasya nendriya pritir labho jiveta yavata. Am I alive? Is my status quo right now what I am? Am I able to stay alive at this point? Am I dying? Am I like the people in Yemen or some of those countries where there's not enough food, they're dying, really, like, just on the verge of death? Are they in that position? Or am I unhealthy because of my physical health is okay? Okay. Mental health is okay? Okay. Do I need anything more? The answer is no. No. We create all these artificial necessities, anartha, anarthas. Sometimes imagined necessities. It is not even necessary actually. Imagine. Why? Why? Not needed. Not needed at all. We think it is needed. Stupidity. Stupidity. You're paying a huge price to get that. It's not worth it. You don't even need it. And the unnecessary thing, which is not needed, you are working like an ass and you are saying no to devotee association, no to enough time to read Prabhupada books, no to, no, I will do also this one. Okay, if you can do, why not do all the time? Why can't you engage in service? That's what we have to, especially youngsters, those who are already in family life and stuck in their positions of job or something, it'll be a little harder, quite harder for them to come out of that. But those youngsters who have not yet gone into it, no hurry at all. Okay? For boys, they should think of becoming brahmacharis. No need work, no need money, nothing. I'll depend on Krishna. Stay in temple, learn seva, become responsible, grow, start another center. Always in the association of devotees. So stay. Krishna will send. Krishna will send. You dedicate your life to Krishna, Krishna will give you everything. You don't have to worry about it. Okay? For girls, anyway, you're going to become somebody's wife. So, anyway, your portion, your what is it? Not upbringing, what maintenance will be taken care of. So we don't have to worry. Even those full time grihastha or brahmachari, whatever, they'll be provided for. That is the faith we should have in Krishna. The problem is when we have anartha. Anartha nivritti has to happen. Anartha nivritti means not just the dirty things in the heart means, oh, I should not be too angry with the devotees or I should not want too much material things. No, no, no. Anartha means what the hell nonsense I'm doing in my life. All the anarthas in my life should be given up, because anartha means out of 24 hours, where is my time being spent? How I am spending my time? Anything which is unnecessary for my development of Krishna consciousness, give up. That's why that अत्याहार प्रयासश्च प्रजल्पो नियमाग्रह जनसंगश्च लौल्यम च षड्भिर्भक्ति विनश्यति. These things have to give up. Pratyahara, collecting more funds than required. Precisely the point. Why do I require those funds when I can stay alive without them? I can stay alive. It doesn't matter. I won't die, but I think I die. Nobody's stopping you. You can do whatever you want. Krishna has never stopped us. But price is that how many lifetimes you want to stay here? You can decide. You can decide. If we are foolish enough to bring our spiritual master every time again and again and again, if you don't make a solution to go back to Krishna and come back here and again and be foolish enough to call our spiritual master also again and again, trouble him, is that a proper thing to do? Why? You'll regret. You'll regret. At the end of life, you'll regret. That I spent so much time on this and that and this and that. Or I may not even regret, because my brain is just lost. I don't even think about it as if I had not done nothing wrong. Completely, insensitive to any spiritual feeling. So either of those two things might happen. So we should live a fulfilled life and start now. When you can, please do it. You will regret when you can't do it. You will regret at that time that when you had time, you did not do it. So that should be the thinking. So thus, a Vaishnava should not ask anything from anyone else. If someone gives him something without being asked, he should accept it. But if nothing comes, a Vaishnava should be satisfied to eat whatever vegetables and fruits are easily available. That's all. That should be the program of devotees. That's it. सदा नाम लैब यथा लाभेते संतोष एट आचार करे भक्ति धर्म पोष. One should strictly follow the principle of always chanting the holy name, and one should be satisfied with whatever he gets easily. Such devotional behavior solidly maintains one's devotional service. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very clearly telling what will solidly maintain our devotional service. तृणादपि सुनीचेन तरोरपि सहिष्णुना अमानिना मानदेन कीर्तनीयः सदा हरिः. One who thinks himself lower than the grass, who is more tolerant than a tree, and who does not expect personal honor, yet is always prepared to give all respect to others, can very easily always chant the holy name of the Lord. Purport: the grass is specifically mentioned in this verse because everyone tramples upon it, yet the grass never protests. This example indicates that a spiritual master or leader should not be proud of his position, being always humbler than an ordinary common man. He should go on preaching the cult of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by chanting the Hare Kṛṣṇa Maha Mantra. He should be always humbler than an ordinary common man. ऊर्ध्वबाहु करी कह सुन सर्वलोक नाम सूत्रे गांठे पर कंठे ए श्लोक. Raising my hand, I declare, everyone please hear me. String this verse on the thread of the holy name and wear it on your neck for continuous remembrance. Like this. Kanthamala. Kanthimala. So, on the thread of the holy name, string this verse. So that's how we should. So purport: when chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra in the beginning, one may commit many offenses which are called Nama Bhas and Nama Aparad. In this stage, there is no possibility of achieving perfect love of Krishna by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Therefore, one must chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra according to the principles of the above verse. Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahishna. And mind you, we cannot do this in the company of non-devotees or alone. You have to do it in the association of devotees. One should note in this connection that chanting involves the activities of the upper and lower lips as well as the tongue. Prabhupada is being very, very vivid and explicit in his description of how one should chant. Upper and lower lips should move, tongue should move. So but some people chant, that's not chanting. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Clearly say. So one should note in this connection, so upper and lower lips and tongue must move. All three must be engaged in chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. The words Hare Krishna should be very distinctly pronounced and heard. Sometimes one mechanically produces a hissing sound instead of chanting with the proper pronunciation with the help of the lips and tongue. Prabhupada is even poking fun at those who, don't hear what they're saying in this. What is the hissing sound? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. You have to chant. Chanting is very simple, but one must practice it seriously. Just because it is simple, I know, yeah, 16 words, 3 words repeated over and over again. Yeah, how difficult can it be? Well, it is very difficult. Because our mind is what we have to deal with. We are not focusing. Therefore, the author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami advises everyone to keep this verse always strung about his neck. प्रभु आज्ञा करो ए श्लोकाचरण अवश्य पाइबे तबे श्री कृष्ण चरण. One must strictly follow the principles given by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this verse. If one simply follows in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya and the Goswamis, certainly he will achieve the ultimate goal of life, the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. Okay, so this one we will read next time. 33 we have stopped. 4 onwards. So, okay, any questions or comments? Devale, if they don't chant, how they're going to remember at the time of death because they don't know when they will die? You're talking about the Bible thing. Shivranj Rashil is asking, so it is better to serve the deity in the temple or at home? Temple. Um, I'll show you. 7:14. I think. In these verses and in verse 29, stress is given to one point. Harer archa shritaschaye or Harer archa. In other words, any place where the deity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is worshipped by devotees is most significant. The Krishna consciousness movement is giving the population of the entire world a chance to take advantage of Krishna consciousness through the ISKCON centers where one may perform deity worship and chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and in this way obtain results with effectiveness increased 1,000 times. This in this way, that means in the temple, obtain results with effectiveness increased 1,000 times. This constitutes the best welfare activity for human society. This was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission as it was predicted by him in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. Prithvite Achyuta Nagaradi Gram Sarvatra Prachar Hoibe Moranam. That is the thing. When you do in the temple, it's 1,000 times more better than home. Of course, you can do at home, but don't do elaborate deity worship at home. Prabhupada never wanted that. Because we will, first of all, we are not trained. We should learn deity worship at the temple. Otherwise, we'll do a speculative deity worship at home. And we will do very, very slowly. We don't know how to do it fast because in temple, punctuality, you have to do it fast and everything. So you'll learn how to do fast. And at home, nobody is there to push you. You will think that it is greater devotion to do it slow. All these are speculations. So one should, and also Deity worship is not the Yuga Dharma. Chanting, preaching, this is Yuga Dharma. So we have to keep it to the minimum. Pictures if possible. And engage more time in chanting and hearing. Because anyway, you're already kind of distracted with working, family, and this and that. So you have to have time for Shravanam Kirtanam. Hmm. So keep deity worship, it should be there, but first of all, one must be initiated. You cannot do deity worship without initiation. Okay. So one must be second initiated that too for deity worship. So and then he has to learn what is the proper method to do deity worship, the mantras that should be chanted, the procedures, the order of the procedures, everything you have to learn. Otherwise, we'll do speculative and then offenses, seva aparadha. So we cannot do like that. So second initiation, then we can start deity worship. But keep it to very simple, very simple. And first priority to temple worship. So that's how we should do it. Karti, Prabhu, I have lost my enthusiasm to listen to lectures daily. I used to previously daily listen for at least 1 to 2 hours. However, now due to lack of focus, now it's too hard to do so. How to get back again? Well, get back again, that's all. Of course, you will have services also to do. So to engage in services, you have to get back at it, that's all. What can I say? Once you get back at it, then the focus will also get back. Uh, Please tell me where I made a mistake and gone wrong. And instead of listening to so much nonsense, we can just listen to Krishna Katha. You can read and you can hear one lecture, and that's it. You have to read also, read Prabhupada books. Okay, Hare Krishna is saying it is to be assumed that there is no possibility of a misunderstanding between the Lord and the devotees. But when there are discrepancies or disruptions between one devotee and another, one has to suffer the consequences, although that suffering is temporary. From 3:16:12 purport. 3:16:12. Oh, Dan Vijay. These servants of mine have transgressed against you, not knowing the mind of their master. I shall therefore deem it a favor done to me if you order that, although reaping the fruit of the transgression, they may return to my presence soon, and the time of their exile from my abode may expire before long. From this statement, we can understand how anxious the Lord is to get his servitor back into Vaikuntha. This incident therefore proves that those who have once entered a Vaikuntha planet can never fall down. See here, proves that those who have once entered a Vaikuntha planet can never fall down. The case of Jayan Vijay is not a fall down, it is just an accident. The Lord is always anxious to get such devotees back again to the Vaikuntha planets as soon as possible. It is to be assumed that there is no possibility of a misunderstanding between the Lord and the devotees. But when there are discrepancies or disruptions between one devotee and another, one has to suffer the consequences, although that suffering is temporary. The Lord is so kind to his devotees that he took all the responsibility for the doorman's offense and requested the sages to give them facilities to return to Vaikuntha as soon as possible. So, here is again Prabhupada saying we will never fall down. So, from then how did we even fall down? Well, it's very mysterious how this happened. Because some people say that we never actually were in Vaikuntha first. Well, then why did the Lord put us in the material world then? That means it's not our fault we are in the material world. The Lord must have put. Now, the thing is, somewhere, somehow or other, we have gone against his, you know, our independence was misused. Somewhere it happened. How it happened, mysterious. How did we develop? Maybe we offended a devotee and then eventually that led to our fall down. Whatever. So, because in some places Prabhupada said like this, some places he said we fell down from Vaikuntha and not from Brahman at all. Of course, from Brahman also people fell or fall down. Maybe from Vaikuntha they go to Brahman, and from Brahman they fall down further. That also can happen. But so back to Godhead is his magazine is called Back to Godhead, not to Godhead. Back to Godhead. We are going back. We came from there. We're going back. So all these things. So usually the Lord will never want us. So even here also, from this statement we can understand how anxious the Lord is to get his servitor back into Vaikuntha. This incident therefore proves that those who have once entered a Vaikuntha planet can never fall down. See? So of course now when we enter we will never fall down. But if they're already there, I mean of course we can fall down even then, technically. Because we are Tatastha Shakti. But usually we don't fall down because Krishna is so attractive and and we're engaged in service and our consciousness is pure. But the moment at any time we have some, different kind of thinking, actually the Lord will put a lot of restraint and try to correct us even then from going away from Him. But if we are so adamant, then somehow or other we are put here. So it's a very enigmatic topic. Um, it's not easy to understand. But generally, I mean, because we are Tatastha Shakti, by nature we should be able to live anywhere, spiritual or material world, according to our use or misuse or abuse of independence. So, yeah, but when we have devotee to devotee interactions at the bhautik, that's when we have a problem. Hare Krishna is saying purport of Madhya 24 or 257. Are doing रथ को है धन को भांगिले वर्तिबो केमने नारद को है आमी अन्न दिबो प्रतिदिने. Hmm. So if I break my bow, how am I going to get my food? Narada said, I will supply the food every day. Nanda replied, if I break my bow, how shall I maintain myself? Narada replied, do not worry, I shall supply all of your food every day. Source of our income is not actually the source of our maintenance. Okay, first thing to think about, ruminate on this. Source of our income is not actually the source of our maintenance. Interesting thing. We think it is that way. Every living being from the great Brahma down to an insignificant ant is being maintained by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Eko bahunam yo vidadhati kaman. The one Supreme Being, Krishna, maintains everyone. Our so-called source of income is our own choice only. Wow, very nice. Our so-called source of income is our own choice only. If I wish to be a hunter, it will appear that hunting is the source of my maintenance. This makes so much sense, right? This is a wonderful purport. If I become a Brahmana and completely depend on Krishna, I do not conduct a business, but nonetheless my maintenance is supplied by Krishna. Look at that. Oh, this is beautiful purport actually. Let me write that down. So, my maintenance is supplied by Krishna. The hunter was disturbed about breaking his bow because he was worried about his income. Narada assured the hunter because he knew that the hunter was not being maintained by the bow but by Krishna. This is what people don't understand. When you're not surrendered, you cannot understand this. It's actually very nicely articulated here. Being the agent of Krishna, Narada Muni knew very well that the hunter would not suffer by breaking the bow. There was no doubt that Krishna would supply him food. This is very beautiful. Short but very powerful purport. And this is very valid arguments, right? So Our so-called source of income is our choice, our own choice only. Source of our income is not actually the source of our maintenance. I wish to be a hunter, it will appear that hunting is the source of my maintenance. If I stop hunting, then who will maintain it? That's why people who think that if I work only, I will be able to maintain myself. Otherwise, I won't be able to. Who said? Like in the Singapore, we are staying without working. We are able to eat. You may say, oh, that's because of donations from people. You are able to eat. Well, if they don't give donations, we will stay somewhere and see. Maintenance will not be a problem. It's not about donations. It's not because of the donations. Krishna will maintain whichever. Donations may come. I may be kicked out from the temple. Anything can happen, right? So, not about the donations. You think your donations are maintaining you, or the money earned from outside is maintaining. That job is maintaining me. We always think like this, the immediate thing. But actually, Krishna is managing whichever way, whichever position we are. Krishna will manage our maintenance. Not a problem. Hmm. So this faith has to be, and this is very nicely explained here. A so-called source of income is our own choice only. If I wish to be a hunter, it will appear that hunting is source of my maintenance. If I become a Brahmana and completely depend on Krishna, I do not conduct a business, but nonetheless my maintenance is supplied by Krishna. Hunter was disturbed about breaking his bow because he was worried about his income. Narad Muni assured the hunter because he knew that the hunter was not being maintained by the bow but by Krishna. Being the agent of Krishna, Narad Muni knew very well that the hunter would not suffer by breaking the bow. See, this is also what we tell, those who work outside. Stop working, nothing will happen, you will be maintained. But they don't have the faith, they don't take up the instruction. Some who take up, they will benefit. Their life will change. There was no doubt that Krishna would supply him food. Beautiful. Thank you for that, Prabhupada. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that the conditioned living entities are full of aversion for Lord Hari. Sami said, I stopped and noticed it was true. So we have somebody who has experimented with this instruction and noticed, he observed. So it is now scientifically proven. Observation and experimentation. Okay, so yeah, in our case also the same thing. Prabhu asked me not to work. I was thinking, no, I should work, I should. Prabhu said, no, just listen. He said, listen. I listened and then more than glad. Okay, so I'll stop here. Thank you very much for attending. चैतन्य चरितामृत की जय, श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभु की जय, हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, अनंत गौरी वैष्णव वृंद की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल, हरे कृष्णा.